that relates to this, but here we are. Mike McGarry is on the Boardwalk Honda hotline, and he joins us now to fill myself in and you, the listener out there, on everything that's been going on this week in the world of high school sports. And there's I think there's some type of tournament going on. Oh, yeah, Battle by the Bay also taking place this Super Bowl weekend. So he's here to fill us in on all that good stuff. Mr. McGarry, how are you this morning?
Very good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Just got back from Miami, so it's a little bit colder up here, but I will survive.
Great job down in Miami, and though it is a little bit colder, we have been blessed with some warm weather and, more importantly, no snow. So I will take the weather up here, though it does not equal Miami for January. It's not bad in South Jersey.
I'm with you, man. It's February 1st. Here we are, and hasn't really been any snow yet, so if we can continue to move through February with this type of weather, it will definitely be a win. But speaking of wins, let's go to some big wins that have been taking place this week. I don't know if you want to start us off. Why don't you start it off, because I've definitely been out of the picture here this week. So before we get to the Battle by the Bay stuff, talk about the big games this week and what you've covered.
Well, it started off at the beginning of the week. A game the paper covered Mainland Regional Ocean City Boys, a renewal of that rivalry. Mainland Boys really in the midst of a tremendous season. I think they won again last night over EHT. Jake Cook had 33 points. They're 14-4, and they beat their big rival Ocean City for the second time this season on Monday. And with that victory, Mainland really solidifying itself as the leader in the Cape Atlantic League National Division, and an opportunity to get a top 3 seed in that Cape Atlantic League tournament, which starts on Friday. And then a couple of days later, I was down in North Wildwood. So in basketball season, you head a lot south on that Garden State Parkway. A great girls game on Wednesday night. Middle Township girls and the Wildwood Catholic girls. A great setting, a packed Wildwood Catholic gym. And Gabby Turco hits a pull-up jumper from the foul line with 14.7 seconds left. The Wildwood Catholic girls edge Middle Township 51-49, and really is a continuation of just a series of great games between those two programs. Middle Township beat Wildwood Catholic by 3 early in January, and it seems every time those two teams play, it comes down to the final seconds. And as I kind of wrote in our list of top 10 high school, items for this week, Middle Township versus Wildwood Catholic. Who says no to round 3 in the Cape Atlantic League tournament? So 2 great girls programs producing another great game this week. And then, of course, we head into the Battle by the Bay, which started last night.
There we go. So we're speaking with Mike McGarry. Follow him on Twitter at AC Press McGarry. McGarry, AC Press McGarry on Twitter for all of the high school sports news and updates in South Jersey and everything else going on. So, Battle by the Bay, here we go. Let's get into it. Let's start it off with the Prep and their big win over Atlantic City.
Yeah, interesting game last night. Both those teams came in with 13-3 records, tied for the Cape Atlantic League American Division lead, and Atlantic City had won 12 in a row going into the game. And both teams came in with a bit of uncertainty. The Prep is without their point guard, Kevin Foreman, who is out for the rest of the season, I believe, with a stress fracture in his foot. He just has to get off the foot for 4 or 5 weeks. Of course, Kevin is a great baseball player, a great center fielder for St. Augustine, and the St. Augustine baseball team, as an aside, this week Perfect Game released their national rankings of preseason national rankings of high school baseball teams, and the Hermits came out number 23 in the country. So, a tremendous, nod or achievement for St. Augustine. But Kevin will probably miss the rest of the basketball season. And Atlantic City was also without their point guard, Nassan Blakely, out with a knee injury. So both teams had some uncertainty. Atlantic City played well early. Story online at pressivac.com. St. Augustine had some problems scoring, but Elmarco Jackson and Keith Powell able to hit some big shots in the third quarter. St. Augustine rights the ship. and rallies for a 61-49 win over Atlantic City in that game last night.
Wow, so that's a big win there for the Prep over AC at Battle by the Bay. Now, some other games, I'm just looking at your most recent article, I believe, which you can find at the Press of Atlantic City, just Late Night Hoops Roundup. Talk about some of the other games. So I see Cedar Creek, 56, Winslow Township, 42. Mainland Regional beating EHT. Cook scoring 33 points. So if you want to touch on any of the other games that have been taking place at Battle by the Bay.
Sure. One other interesting game at the Battle by the Bay last night. It started out, before we get to some of the other games, Pleasantville High School boys team played Constitution High School of Philadelphia. And I love Constitution High School. Great name. Their nickname's the General, so a great deal there. Pleasantville came into that battle by the game, and the story in the paper today and online. They needed a win. They had lost 4 in a row. They had lost to St. Joe earlier this week in a game that kind of established who would be the second team behind Wildwood Catholic boys in the Cape Atlantic League United division. So Pleasantville needed a win, and they got an interesting debut from a player, Issa Baker Toombs, a transfer from Atlantic City, became eligible last night. And, the game starts. He's playing his first game. He's all pumped up to play. He gets control of the opening tip, drives in for a layup, makes the layup. There was only one problem, Ryan. He put the ball in the wrong basket. He scored 2 points for Constitution to start the game. He was able to laugh about it afterwards because he came back. He scored 14 points and propelled Pleasantville to a 76-70 win. After the game, I talked to him for a story that's on PressofAC.com and in the paper. He was just so excited to be out there with his teammates, with a new team, so excited to be playing basketball after he had to sit out a while before he became eligible. But he just kind of lost it a little bit about the start of the game, but everybody could laugh about it afterwards, and Pleasantville got a nice win over Constitution in that Battle by the Bay. And that, of course, sets up, Sunday's traditional Battle by the Bay pre-Super Bowl finale, when Atlantic City and Pleasantville meet 1:30 on Sunday.
Wow, that's something. I wish I saw that. I don't think I've ever been a part of a game or watched a game where they went to the wrong side of the court there and put it in the opposing team's basket. Yeah. But hey, I'm glad he could laugh about it.
Yeah, it was funny. I mean, and he did it, and nobody seemed to know exactly what to do. Both teams kind of just froze in place, and and then kind of everybody kind of smiled and went on, and of course, and then he went on and actually scored 7 of Pleasantville's next 10 points. Pleasantville built a big lead. Constitution rallied in the second half. He hit some big shots, including a top of the key 3-pointer that helped Pleasantville hold on for the win. So the interesting game Sunday when Pleasantville and Atlantic City meet. It's always interesting when those two schools meet.
Yeah, so let's get into the matchups now. Let's look ahead, unless we missed anything, Mike, but let's look ahead a little bit to now today, Battle by the Bay, and then Super Bowl Sunday, Battle by the Bay. That's always the big finale there with some good matchups that you just alluded to. So first, let's start with today. What's the schedule like? What's the crowds going to be like? Matchups and players that you're looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, some really interesting games today over at Atlantic City. First of all, at 12:30, you've got the St. Joe boys playing Chester. Chester out of Pennsylvania, a traditional power, and the St. Joe boys, they're a team to watch. They had a big win over Pleasantville this past week. On Friday, they went to Delaware, beat a team from Delaware. I think St. Joe is 12-2 or 13-2. They've got a really couple of talented players. A sophomore, Daniel Skillings. He's a player to watch, a name we got to remember. He's about 6'3", 6'4" swingman. Can drive to the basket, can put the ball on the floor, get to the rim, can also step outside of the perimeter and shoot it. He's a guy with a lot of potential for St. Joe, and they've got a nice junior guard in Marcus Pierce also. He had 28 yesterday against Cross Christian of Delaware. That duo of Skillings and Pierce, that's one of the top young duos in South Jersey, so they'll be in action today at the Battle by the Bay against Chester, which is a traditional power in the afternoon. And then at night, you've got some interesting games. You've got the Wirewood Catholic girls. We talked about them a little bit earlier, coming off their big win over Middle Township. They'll be playing the Atlantic City girls. The Atlantic City girls are leading the Cape Atlantic League American Division right now. Siani Red Howard, a great senior. Sinai Garrison Macon, a great sophomore guard for Atlantic City. So that's a matchup between two of the Cape Atlantic League's top teams. And then we're finishing off at 8 o'clock tonight with the Wildwood Catholic boys. Number 2 in our Elite 11, one of the top teams in the state. They're playing another traditional power in Seton Hall Prep. And Seton Hall Prep, one of the premier North Jersey parochial teams. 10-5 this season. They got off to a little bit of a slow start, but Seton Hall Prep's going to take an 8-game winning streak into tonight's game. So, those are 3 kind of key matchups that I'm looking forward to today at the Battle by the Bay.
Yeah, they all sound great. Head over there to Atlantic City to watch. It's always a great environment, and I'm hoping to get over there, if not today, maybe tomorrow before the Super Bowl festivities get underway. So, What's the matchup of the weekend? What's the number one circled matchup that we're looking forward to at Atlantic City?
Well, I think this weekend, and when it comes to the Battle by the Bay, no matter what, how talented the other teams' matchups are or how talented the other players are, the big matchup that everyone looks forward to is obviously 1:30 on Sunday. Pleasantville versus Atlantic City.
Yep.
For a lot of fans, it's the only game they go to all season long. I often say that the game just sort of exists in its own universe. Nothing that happens before it matters. Nothing that these teams do afterwards matters. It just sort of exists in its own world, and, it should be an excellent game tomorrow. Of course, Pleasantville last year had a losing streak to Atlantic City in Battle by the Bay games. I think Atlantic City holds a 17-7 edge in the Battle by the Bay series. But Pleasantville, I think, got their first win last year since 2008 or 2007. And Pleasantville will be looking to make it 2 in a row over the Vikings tomorrow. And it's just a game filled with not only basketball, but a lot of theater. The cheerleaders from both schools perform at halftime. And it's just a great way to sort of start off, obviously a huge sports day. You hit Atlantic City, Pleasantville in the afternoon. Your game's over by about 3:15, 3:30. Gives you plenty of time to sort of get to where you have to be to watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I remember, and I'm no legendary athlete by any means in these parts, but I remember being in high school and being at the Battle by the Bay, and those Atlantic City cheerleaders, when you step to the foul line and they stomp the ground and they yell, "Miss it!" That still haunts my dreams a little bit. So it's always a very fun environment for high school kids and anyone in this Atlantic City area. So we're speaking with Mike McGarry, Press of Atlantic City. Follow him on Twitter at AC Press McGarry. So anything that we missed regarding high school sports?
I just think, it's a fun time of year. Middle Township boys last night with a big win. Jeremiah Camacho sinks a game winner from the corner with 2.7 seconds left, and that kind of, you never know what you're going to see this time of year. A lot of game winners, and there's a month left in the season, so we've started to turn the corner. As you mentioned today, I mentioned it was January. You're right. Point out it's February 1st. Time flies, and we're getting ready for Cape Atlantic League tournament at the end of the month. So the season goes fast, and we're coming down to the end of it right now. But still, a lot of great moments out there in gyms all over the place.
It really is. That's Michael McGarry, Press of Atlantic City, long-time journalist with the Press, covering local high school sports throughout the southern New Jersey area and an assortment of other sports as well. So before I let you go, sir, prediction on the game tomorrow. And are you looking forward to the big Super Bowl game? Because we were talking earlier and it doesn't feel like Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah, I am looking forward to the Super Bowl. Obviously, I think it's kind of snuck up on us. I think one of the reasons is obviously, I think what happened in Los Angeles last Sunday with the tragedy that happened there with Kobe Bryant, his family, and the other people on that helicopter is kind of, maybe shook us all up, and maybe has diverted our attention away from the Super Bowl. But I am looking forward to the game. And, I don't know who's going to win, but I know throughout my life I've watched a lot of Super Bowls. And usually, as much as you want to pick the flashy player and like the flashy player, the flashy offensive player in Pat Mahomes, usually defense wins. So, my heart says Mahomes, my head says 49ers.
All right, 49ers. I said the same thing earlier, that the Chiefs have dominated the headlines, but you just get the feeling that the 49ers are going to sneak into this thing tomorrow night and find a way to win. But certainly won't be surprised if Mahomes and the Chiefs get it done. It's going to be a good one, as well as the many good ones over at the Battle by the Bay. Michael, thank you so much, man. Have a good rest of your weekend.